The podcast that you're about to listen to is the podcast that you're about to listen to. Well, hey there, happy innovators. How are you all doing today? I hope that you're doing well. I'm doing pretty good. It's been a while since I made a podcast, and I've been busy doing a lot of other things with my music and everything. So I hope that you don't mind if I do a little bit of talking today. And before I get started, I want to make sure that you have your coffee. I grabbed myself a cup right before I sat down. So I'm going to take a sip of that coffee right now. Hang on. Okay. Anyway, so I'm sure that all of you that are listening to this podcast are well aware of all the shenanigans that are going on with Donald Trump right now, and the MAGA movement and the Epstein files, and basically the first 100 days of Donald Trump's second term as president of the United States. And I know I'm paying attention to it because you really can't look anywhere without seeing something about it on the internet. And I'm so shocked by what's going on right now that, I mean, I knew I was going to have to make a podcast about it. And, I thought about making a podcast maybe a few days ago or whatever. And I thought, you know what I'm going to do is I'm going to wait for things to kind of simmer a little bit with this whole Trump Epstein files scandal thing, and see how things kind of unfold a little bit before I talk, because everybody and their brother has a podcast now, and everybody has an opinion about this stuff. And because most of the content creators are trying to make money, they'll make a video right away, a response or a reaction to whatever's going on. And, I guess that's a practical approach if you want to make money off of your podcasts. But I don't really care about that kind of stuff. And I've kind of decided that I'd sit back a little bit and be one of the last people to comment on things, So hopefully you can get behind that idea, and you'll be willing to sit down with me today to listen to a couple of my ideas or a couple of my thoughts about what's going on. Now, I suppose I should probably start by saying in this podcast that I did not vote for Donald Trump, okay? Although I liked him as a candidate, I did not cast a vote for him. But I have been watching him very closely, and I have to say that I'm impressed with, so far anyway, the first 100 days. I'm impressed with how much he has gotten done. I mean, the first few months, it was like a fire hose of activity just hitting you in the face every day. All the stuff that he was doing and all the things that were getting done. And wow. I don't think I can remember a president in my lifetime that was ever doing that much in such a short period of time. So I have to say that, in all fairness, that overall I'm pretty happy with the way Trump has been doing things. There's a couple of things that I question, a couple of things that I think are kind of rotten. I guess one of the things I could mention is Donald Trump's, $5 million gold card visa, where people can pay $5 million and get instant citizenship here in the United States. And when I saw that, I guess that was my first signal that, this could be heading in the wrong direction. I mean, I kind of thought right when Trump was elected for the second time, and he was being sworn in for the second time, I kind of thought to myself, this time is either going to be very, very good or very, very bad. It won't be too much in between. And I have to say that so far, a lot of it has been really good. But the first chink in the armor that I noticed was the $5 million gold card visa. That was where it started for me. I thought, okay, that's strike one for Donald Trump, because I think that's absolutely horrible. And then I would say when Elon Musk was in the Oval Office and hanging out there with his son and doing all that stuff, and just silliness, Trump out in the parking lot of the White House with a Tesla, advertising Tesla from the White House. Yeah, that was pretty lame, and that was strike number 2. Okay, but then, just when I really kind of thought, Trump couldn't do anything stupider than that, all of a sudden he starts to deny this whole fiasco with the Epstein files, and there's nothing to see here, that kind of thing. And I'm just like, oh my gosh, I can't believe it. I can't believe that Donald Trump would be that foolish, to do something like that. I guess there are some people that think it's some kind of plan. He's playing 5D chess with somebody and we don't understand what's going on. And down the line, we'll see that he was really doing the right thing or whatever. But, I don't know. I don't know. I think that things are going to start to get worse for Donald Trump and his administration this time around. I mean, I'm happy with RFK and what he's doing. I'm happy with Tulsi Gabbard and Marco Rubio. And I'm not sure what Pam Bondi is up to. I guess I worry sometimes that, there is this trail of these really professional women in Donald Trump's past that he kind of threw under the bus when they went to bat for him. Namely, Sidney Powell, his attorney that he just kind of threw under the bus. Jenna Ellis is another one. That poor woman, the crap that she was put through by the Democrats, but Donald Trump did not come to her aid and did not bail her out or help her out. And now I'm kind of wondering if somebody like Pam Bondi is going to be next on that list. These women that were just kind of thrown under the bus, and I'm not quite sure what to make of all that. And of course, what do I know? I'm just a moron with a microphone out here in the middle of Massachusetts, but I don't know. One thing I can say that's impressive, I guess, about Donald Trump is that, when he was running for president the second time, actually going all the way back to when Donald Trump first came down the escalator, from that moment on, it was just a melee on this guy. The Democrats just went after him and did not let up, and they threw the world at him. I mean, think about it. They threw everything at him, and so many people that worked around him were just destroyed, and left in his wake as he continued to go forward, and I never thought that anybody would ever be able to, take Trump down. I just didn't see anybody. After a while, I just didn't see anybody that was going to be capable of doing that. They tried everything. They even tried to send him to jail. They tried to kill him, and that didn't work, although that's a little bit shady, I must admit. I'm not quite sure how I feel about the whole Trump assassination thing. I'm not quite sure that things unfolded the way that we're being told they did. And that's all I'm going to say about that. But one thing I can also say about Donald Trump is that despite having the world thrown at him, everything but the kitchen sink thrown at him by the Democrats and even by some Republicans, nobody was able to take him down. No, they weren't. And how ironic, or how interesting, that the only person really that's capable of taking Donald Trump down is himself. And if you ask me, that's like precisely what he's doing right now. He's taking himself down. He's turned his back on his base. I don't know. I guess I kind of hope that it's part of a plan, and down the road somewhere we'll see, oh, that's why he did that. But as of right now, I don't see any reason or any logic behind what he's doing. It's very strange. And Trump is the kind of person that can only be undone by his own hand. I mean, think about that. The Democrats were doing all this kind of lawfare, all that kind of stuff, and they still lost. And there was a lot of optimism and a lot of hope when he took office for the second time. But I'm starting to lose my confidence in him, day by day, little by little. And I'm glad that I didn't vote for him. I'm kind of shocked I'm saying that, because, like I said, his first 100 days in office, which, historically, a president's first 100 days are like when he manages to get the most done, before there's interference or the opposing parties get in there and mess things up. Whatever kind of mileage the president can get in the first 100 days, that's usually it, Now, it doesn't seem that way for Trump. And, to Donald Trump's credit, I gotta say, when it comes to like money and trade and world economics and things like that, I don't think there are too many people that are as knowledgeable as he is. And when Donald Trump started to do the whole tariff thing, and all the experts from Wall Street, all these people that are economic experts, started to criticize him, and this is going to be the downfall, and blah 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 blah. And then it turns out that what he did actually worked. So when it comes to finance, the world of finance and global trade, and like I said, world economics, I'm pretty confident in Donald Trump. It's just that when it comes to other things, I'm not quite sure anymore, So we find ourselves in this time now where all of a sudden, after years, 10 years or even more than 10 years of these promises about the Epstein files, and that, these people would be brought to justice, and, Donald Trump campaigned on this, and, while it's not the most important issue on the table, especially right now for Donald Trump, it's like, it is a big deal to the people that got him voted into office again, that stayed loyal to him, And, with the whole Epstein thing, it's not only about justice. It's about how Trump had made a deal with his people, the art of the deal. He made a deal with his people, the MAGA, Make America Great Again. And he has reneged on that deal because they wanted the Epstein files. That was one of the things, that was one of the asks of his base. And he has turned his back on that. And now he's starting to kind of like turn his back on his own people and attack them in his, social media platforms, And I can't help but remember at this time that all throughout Donald Trump's campaigning, every once in a while he would read this poem called The Snake, and I won't bother saying it here. But basically the gist of this poem is like, a woman invites a snake into her house, and it's sick and it's dying, and she kind of like coddles it and nurses it back to health. And then when the snake is healthy, it bites her. And as the woman is dying, and the snake's like, well, this is your fault. You knew I was a snake before you took me in. I didn't deceive you. You invited me in. And I always thought, whenever he read that poem, I would think to myself, what a strange thing to say, in the middle of a Trump rally. What a strange poem to read. Is he warning us, about what's really going on with him? I don't know. It's kind of like it came out of his mouth, not mine, And I'm thinking, Trump was going to either be very great or very bad. So Trump says he's not going to release the Epstein files because there's nothing there anymore. It's gone. There's nothing there worth talking about, right? And we've got Kash Patel and Dan Bongino and Pam Bondi all weighing in saying the same thing. Like everybody's kind of towing the line, But whether that's true or not, or whether that's accurate or not, does not change the deal that Donald Trump made with his people. And if he can't deliver on that promise, which he's claiming he will not do, what are we supposed to think? Now, in lieu of all this, there's all these talking heads that are popping up, and they're saying all kinds of shit about, Donald Trump's this and Donald Trump is that's bad. He was on Epstein Island. He's responsible. He's horrible and everything. And it's like mostly coming from the Democrats. And, at this point, I don't even listen to the Democrat voices anymore because they've been so full of shit for so long now. And I'm not even partisan. I'm not. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I'm neither. But I can call it like I see it. And a lot of the time when the Democrats had the microphone, they were lying the whole time. They would make stuff up and it was just dirty and underhanded and everything was sensationalized and, designed in such a way to take Trump down any way they could. So after a while, naturally, because I'm logical and rational, I'm going to stop listening to them no matter what they're saying. And it's going to take them a long time to get my trust back. I don't trust the Democratic Party anymore. I don't trust anything they say, and I don't care what it is. I will not hear them anymore because I think it's a waste of time. But one thing I can say, after all this and all the shenanigans and the inauguration and the election and all the stuff that's been going on, all right, this whole thing with the Epstein files and the MAGA people kind of turning on Trump and all that, it goes to show you, if not anything else, that the Republican Party is not only capable, okay, like the Republicans can and will and are criticizing their leaders because they can and they will. And they are doing that right now. Every single MAGA talking head is turning on Trump because he has backed out of that deal. He has lied to his people. And you could think what you want or whatever about Trump and the Republicans, but one thing is for sure, the Democrats that are coming out in droves right now to attack Trump on this whole Epstein files thing, those same people are not capable of criticizing their leaders. When their leaders are doing stupid things and their leaders are full of shit, they all toe the line. No matter what is going on, they will lie. They will lie just to keep the ball in the air and to make their people look like, not wrong or lying or whatever. Like, come on. Did anybody really need a doctor to express professionally that Joe Biden was cognitively failing? You needed a doctor to tell you that, or you needed some kind of official statement? Give me a break. If you watch one speech from the guy, he could barely put sentences together, and they would not admit that that was true. But on the Republican side, the MAGA side, they will hold their leaders accountable if they don't deliver. And that's what a large part of this whole thing is about to me. That's what it tells me. And that's the difference, in 2025 between, your far lefty and your far righty. That's the difference. That's the gap. The Democratic Party is incapable of criticizing their own people, because if they do, they get attacked. And with the Republican Party right now in America, they can speak the truth. And they can call their leaders out on their bullshit. And they will do that, and they are doing that. And this situation with Trump right now and the Epstein files is symbolic. That's what Trump doesn't get about this situation, is that it's not just about justice. It's a symbolic gesture. It's symbolic. He needs to deliver on this. This was like one of the number one asks of the MAGA movement. There were a few others too, okay? Like mass deportations and all that kind of stuff. And I have my opinions about that too, okay? Because let me tell you, I worked labor most of my life. I was a struggling musician, and I worked a lot of construction jobs and that kind of stuff. I worked as a laborer and all that kind of stuff. And I worked with Mexicans, okay? And I will tell you this, and I know this from personal experience, that those guys that I was working with on those construction sites that were Mexican, they worked circles around me. I mean, I never saw anything like it before in my life. And it wasn't just once or twice. It was every single time that I worked with guys that were Mexican, but they could barely speak English. They worked so hard and were capable of so much more than even like I was, That's the takeaway I got from that. So how do I feel about immigration? If you're an illegal immigrant, if you're illegal, you gotta go. I mean, come on, you gotta go. But now Trump is starting to do this thing where he's starting to kind of change that a little bit. He's like modifying it, like, because the rich folks that run the farms and the things that the hotels or whatever, the guys that own these places, they rely on that cheap labor. So now they're starting to change their mind about it right in the middle of all this, and it's like, okay, yeah, whatever, man. Like I said, this whole Trump administration, while starting out very great and like, wow, unbelievable, I just kind of see it heading in the wrong direction right now. And I don't know what to really think about it, but I don't know. What do you think about it? Everybody has an opinion, especially if they're like a living, breathing, thinking human being. And I don't know, man. I gotta laugh at all of it. And you have to as well. Because if you can't laugh, you'll cry, right? I mean, it's so goofy and messed up, I do kind of wonder, this is an interesting thought that I've had lately. Like, is it possible if there's like a breakaway from MAGA, like that party breaks away from Trump, is there some kind of middle ground where like the moderate Democrats and the MAGA movement could get together to start another party, something that's, like a mix of both, right? Is that possible? I don't know. One thing is for sure, I don't think that any of this is going to go away for Trump. The stuff with the Epstein files is not going to go away. It's going to haunt him for the rest of his presidency. And probably every single speaking engagement that he has, there will be somebody asking about the Epstein files or making some kind of comment in that regard. This will not disappear after the 5-day news cycle. This is gonna sting for a long time until he remedies it. And I can't think of a way that he could walk it back now. I think it's too late. Because even if he came out and said, you know what, we're gonna do what everybody wants now. We're gonna release the Epstein files that I used to claim were there. Now I claim they're not there. And I guess I'll claim that they're there again and I'll release them. Even if he did something like that, I think it'll fall on deaf ears. I can't believe that President Donald Trump could mishandle the situation so badly that it will be his political demise. Like, he made a huge mistake on this one. Everything else is arguable, but this one, he made a promise, he made a deal to the people that elected him into that office again that he would deliver when it came to the Epstein files. And here we are, 6 months, 7 months, 8 months in, and while things are going pretty good, Donald Trump has lied to the people that got him there in the first place. He's turned his back on them, trying to, say that it's like if they don't agree with everything he says and does, then he's not going to have anything to do with them. You've got to be kidding. Oh my goodness. You've got to be kidding, sir. Mr. President, you can't be serious. But of course, he is serious. It's the kind of thing that's gonna, permanently change the political landscape here in America, maybe even worldwide. Maybe it's hearkening to a larger vision for America that's not always about money and stock prices and inflation and cash and gold, the gold standard and fiat currency and money, Bitcoin, money. There's more to life than money. And, as far as I'm concerned, really, it's like, yeah, this guy wrote a book called The Art of the Deal, but he made a deal with his own people and he broke it. And now he's blaming them for him having broken it, broken that trust. What a strange time that we live in. And I'll tell you what, here's a wild idea that I'm going to float here that, not too many people have really talked about, especially, when it comes to the whole Epstein files thing. Everybody is operating under the assumption or the belief that Jeffrey Epstein died in jail by killing himself, by hanging himself. Okay? But I always thought that was kind of like possibly a bullshit story, that somebody like Jeffrey Epstein, on the level that he was at, being held in a prison cell, okay, maybe, but killing himself, like dying in jail, I don't think so. I don't think anybody snuck in there and killed him either. I personally believe, at least probably 85%, okay, I believe that Jeffrey Epstein never died. That he was walked out of the jail and is living somewhere on a remote island somewhere. And I mean this, I'm not kidding. It's actually a plausible explanation as to why there's such little information around this guy. I don't think that he ever died. And, this may sound strange to you, but you can Google this. You can look this up, that David Copperfield, the famous illusionist, the famous magician, was good friends with Jeffrey Epstein. They hung out together all the time, and they bought properties together or something, and they were buddies, and there's a lot of phone calls from David Copperfield to Jeffrey Epstein when he was, quote, in jail. And not too long after that, Jeffrey Epstein hung himself. He died. That's over, So I have my thoughts and my questions about that. I kind of wonder, is it possible that Jeffrey Epstein never died, and that somebody like David Copperfield, a master magician, helped him pull it off? They got more money than you can count, and more resources than we'll ever even be able to relate to. So, did he escape? Maybe. I think that he probably did. And I think that he probably did because these guys that are on Jeffrey Epstein's level, that are that high up, they're beyond governments and stuff. They don't answer to anybody. And they don't care. And they don't care because they don't have to. We do, because we're just plebes, we're just regular people. But trust me, there's a high up, faction of people on the planet that do not answer to any authority other than their own. And while I have no proof of that, I'm sure if we all looked close enough at a lot of different things, if we just look at this Jeffrey Epstein situation with Trump and what's going on and all the weird connections with all these people, hey, if you just look at it and see it for what it is, what do you see? You don't need an expert to break it down for you and have documented proof that this is what happened and this didn't happen and whatever. It's what do you see? What do I see? I see a situation where there were a lot of guys with a lot of money, and they have a sexual appetite they will not suppress because they don't have to. We have to, because if we do certain things like that, we get in trouble. But they don't get in trouble, okay? And this whole thing with Trump right now and Epstein and the MAGA movement and all the doubts and questions, that's basically what it's saying is this question, right? Can these people that we don't see, that are really high up or whatever, that really important and powerful people with lots of money, do they have to answer to the law like we do? And the answer is probably going to be, again, for the millionth time in human history, no. They don't have to go to jail. They don't have to get in trouble like normal people do. They don't. And nothing's going to change it. It's never going to change. And that's the message that I'm getting from Donald Trump and all these shenanigans that he's pulling right now. And there's all these people that are on the far left that are cheering for this because Trump's going down, And like I've said before, even about Hillary Clinton or Bill Clinton or any of the leaders from the past that you guys all remember, Barack Obama, it's not, when those people go down, when they get in trouble of some kind and there's a scandal or whatever, that's not a reason to celebrate. It's tragic. It's tragic when somebody that has that much power and intelligence and influence and public trust betrays the public and they do something really wrong and really stupid. That's not dancing in the streets. That's tragedy for you and I, regardless of what side of the aisle you're on. When there's a failure on behalf of our politicians to fulfill their duties to the public trust, that's rock bottom. That's the worst. And if you don't see it that way, then you need to check yourself, because it's nothing to celebrate. This is not good news, okay? Even for Democrats. Well, for them it probably is, because it's almost like they're not even rational anymore most of the time. Not all Democrats. There are some moderates, I think, that still have a brain in their head, but damn, over the past 4 years, or even 8 years, they've been horrible. You know, the party I used to belong to, for the most part, now, I don't even recognize them anymore. And like I said earlier in this podcast, I will not hear them anymore. I can't, after 8 years of hearing their bullshit and the horrible things that were done, and their inability to, hold their leaders accountable on their side of the aisle, like they just will not and, cannot do that. They'd get shut down by their own people if they criticize or if they question what's going on with their own leadership. But I guess to the credit of the Republican Party, they are proving at this very moment, as I'm speaking right now, that not only can they hold their leaders accountable, they will hold their leaders accountable. And if Trump does not deliver what they have demanded, what they are calling for, it'll be Trump's undoing. And any of his children that want to run for office afterwards, or family members or whatever, are going to be marred by this. By this. This is the thing. It matters more than anything else, because it's symbolic, Mr. President. It's symbolic to your people that the swamp can be held accountable, right? And it ain't gonna happen. So quit asking. That's what he's saying, right? That's what Trump is saying. The only thing that I really want to say now at the end of this enormous rant that I just did about this situation with Trump and Epstein and whatever is a question, okay? What about Ghislaine Maxwell? What about her? There's talk now that she's going to be released from prison. Maybe she'll be exonerated of all the charges against her because of what Trump has said. And I don't really think that's going to happen. But going by, past history, especially the way that, in politics, like the way that women are treated, like Sidney Powell, Jenna Ellis, and Pam Bondi, and I guess in this situation, Ghislaine Maxwell as well. Are they all just going to get thrown under the bus? Is Ghislaine Maxwell going to be found in her cell hanging herself in the next few days? Because she's talking about, spilling the beans, and she knows what happened. Trump's saying nothing, there's nothing there. Pam Bondi says there's nothing there, but there's Ghislaine Maxwell sitting in a cell somewhere. She'll tell you a story. She's got some names that she could share, I'm sure. She knows the whole thing, especially if it means her freedom. Oh my goodness, can you imagine? It would just be like, it's like a movie, like a TV show. It's so crazy. It's fiction, but it's not fiction. This is the real world that we're, seeing. This is the world that we see. But I wonder, deep down in my heart of hearts, I wonder, in the next few weeks or something, is Ghislaine Maxwell going to wind up, being murdered somehow, or she'll die so she can't talk. And if that happens, then we're all going to know, like, this situation with the Epstein files, Donald Trump, and the MAGA movement, and even the Democrats that are jumping on Trump's head right now about all this. They're relishing the moment because Trump is going down by his own hand, or his own words, his own mouth. If it turns out that Ghislaine Maxwell winds up, killing herself in jail, she winds up dying somehow, you'll know, and I'll know, and the whole world will know that we're never going to find out anything, and nothing is going to stop what these folks are doing. You know, it's not going to end it. It's not possible. They, like in quotes, they will do whatever they want, whenever they want, wherever they want, and you can't do shit about it. So stop bringing it up. Stop asking about it. It's never going to stop, right? That's the message to America from our president. Quit asking, okay? Because you're never going to find out anything. All right, thank you, Mr. President. Thank you, Commander-in-Chief. Even though you had promised that you were going to do this, you made a deal with your people and you broke it. So, the art of the deal, the art of breaking the deal, that should probably be his second book. So, my happy innovators, I'm going to leave it there for today. I think I've said enough. But keep your eyes open and your head on a swivel. Pay attention to everything, not just one side or the other. Try to find that middle ground where you can discern what's happening right and left and kind of pull it into the middle. Because if you ask me, the future of politics in the world, not just in America, is somewhere in the middle. Right there in the middle between left and right. That's where the future is. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. Nobody knows. But anyway, that's it for today, my happy innovators. I hope that you're all doing well. Hope that life is going good for you. And it sure was nice to sit down and do another podcast today. So take it easy, everybody. And remember, if you want to keep what you've got to give it away. Take it easy, everybody. Well, hey there, happy innovators. For all of you that were kind enough and gracious enough with your time to stick around to the end of the podcast for some music, I've got some music that I'm going to share with you today. I have a cover version of the song Hear That Sound by the group In Excess. You know, I did the cover version of that song a long time ago. I started it probably 5 years ago, and I found the session for it not too long ago, maybe like a month ago. And, I loaded it into my system and, I kind of thought, oh, it's a good jumping off point. I mean, I can do some work on it and kind of make it sound as good as I possibly can, So that's what I did, and that's what we're going to hear right now. So without any further ado, the pipe choir cover version of the In Excess song, Hear That Sound. I hope that you guys like it. Take it easy, everybody, and enjoy. Peace out.
So your time has come, children watch the fools. Don't let anyone tell you what you must do. Do you like what you see, or does it make you cry? Use your imagination to start a fire. Hear that sound. There's a voice to be found, making changes go round. Hear that sound. And my selfish ways disappeared one day, with the realization of the fray, coming into being. Our hearts full of promises of all we can do. Hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, making changes go round. Hear that sound? So your time has come. Children, watch the fools. Don't let anyone tell you what you must do. Do you like what you say, or does it make you cry? Use your imagination to start a fire. Hear that sound? There's a voice to be found, making changes go round. Hear that sound?